Hey, welcome to my channel. If you're here watching my channel, I assume that you are a fellow truth seeker. And that's fine. It's fine to be curious and to try to find the information in the sea of lies that we were born into. But today we're gonna look at um the Joe Rogan's podcast, Billy Carson. I love Billy Carson. I love his information. I may not agree with everything that he says, but I mean, there's been an influx of channels lately where I see they're trying to debunk things that Billy has been talking about, and I felt compelled to come and let's see, let's fact check it. Let's see, let's get this dump, let's jump right into it, right? Let's go.
To like what you do, and because these subjects, so many of these subjects, so many people have like an instantaneous reaction.
Yeah.
And that instantaneous reaction is, oh, hogwash.
Exactly. What I've noticed in our society today, like whenever you have anything that goes beyond the norm of what people think or outside the norm or outside of their knowledge base, it's more prevalent today. They instantly believe that it's hogwash, that what you're saying is not true, it's a lie. And I think there's different levels to this. There's different levels to the psyche of this. When you think about it, most people are living lies. So because we see life through our perception, we have an assumption that other people are living lies also. So if someone came off more intelligent, you instantly think that they're faking it. And I'm not gonna dive into this in this video, but race, the our views on race also has a certain a play in this.
Yeah.
If this was true, I would already know about it. It would be taught in universities.
Yep.
It would all be. But then you find out, like, no one is really just kind of trying to piece stuff together, specifically talking about these ancient tablets, which are, to me, some of the most interesting things about ancient history.
So the ancient tablets we're talking about is well, one of is known as the Emerald tablets, right? So Billy Carson pulls a lot of his information from ancient history, ancient books. One of his sources is the Emerald tablets. People will, they hear Emerald tablets. What is that? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So does everyone, I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video, if not, look him up. Isaac Newton, right, is someone that's very notable, very popular. Isaac Newton. And I'm sure we all know or heard of Isaac Newton, right? Let's see, who is Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, and author who was widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time. Okay? Let's read that again. Isaac Newton is an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, an author who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time. So let's go back up real quick. Because remember I mentioned the Emerald tablets that everyone would say it's fake, it's not real. So what are the Emerald tablets? They are a series of ancient texts and that are attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a mystical figure, right? Because it's been so long ago, who is often associated with wisdom and alchemy in Greco-Egyptian mythology, right? He's Hermes Trismegistus is considered among many different mythologies, but he's often attributed to Greco-Egyptian mythology. Okay, so listen. They try to say that the Emerald tablets aren't real. And I'm probably going to end up coming back to this again in this video. Origins and authorship. The Emerald tablets are attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure often associated with Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Right? Okay, leave it there. First you read that and you're like, oh my god, nonsense. Well, let's get to this part. Right? So, where is it at? Isaac Newton, right? Remember, often known as one of the most influential scientists, mathematician, physicist, right? Astronomy. So there's a translation by Isaac Newton, which can be found in various archives and historical manuscripts. Right? So to sit here and say Billy Carson was completely wrong is completely wrong. Because no, one of the most influential scientists of our time was working on this. Keep note of that. Keep note. Because you're going to come across a lot of content where they're going to try to make you feel as if these people aren't saying something that's true or some truth, right? There's a saying that, and I hate these sayings, but I'll use it. It goes something like, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater," right? And I feel like these guys are constantly throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Particularly what came out of ancient Sumer.
Yeah.
Ancient Sumer, when you look at their tablets and like what are they saying and why would they dedicate so much time to talking about this stuff?
Ancient Sumeria, another historical artifact or country or place people try to act like was fake, like it wasn't real. Take a look. Ancient Sumeria. What we got? Ancient Sumeria, also known as Sumer, was one of the earliest civilizations in the world, located in the southern part of Mesopotamia and what is now modern-day Iraq. Ah, you hear that? Modern-day Iraq. We can tie it into a lot of conspiracy theories why they're so concerned about Iraq, why they it's just such a political thing about Iraq. We're not gonna go there in this video, but remember that ancient Sumeria, where a lot of these secrets and secret knowledge and these tablets come from. I mean, we can even get into the great library that was burned down, but hey, let's stay on track. We're talking about ancient Sumeria, the Emerald tablets, and Billy Carson. So, key points, right? It was located between Tigris and Euphrates rivers in the region of Mesopotamia, Iraq. You can still find these rivers, depiction of them in Iraq. Do the research, take a look. So let's see. Let's ask it. Was it a real place? People try to act like it wasn't real. Yes, it was real. It was real. Iraq and surrounding countries sit on ancient Sumeria. You got Palestine, you got Sumeria. You're starting to see something about the Middle East here that isn't talked about as much. When you think about these places, you don't think about where they are, right? You just, Sumeria, you don't think that it's where people are fighting for land and stuff today. For a reason, by the way. Resources, knowledge, cities that are still underground and probably not found yet, right? Let's go. Brief secrets. Let's say brief secrets. So ancient Sumeria, one of the world's earliest civilizations, holds many fascinating secrets. and characteristic. They had an advanced writing system, right? They created something called the cuneiform script. The Sumerians developed one of the first writing systems. Right? So we haven't really even dug into this is a whole different video if I talk about ancient Sumeria. They had their own type of architecture. They were very mathematically inclined. They had their own systems of mathematics. They made a ton of innovation in mathematics. They had a system of legal codes, agricultural techniques, calendars, right? All the things that we think that we invented today or in the last few, no, these things were here BC. You have to ask the question, why is it that whenever we get to talking about BC, it's like a hush when we have all this information about BC? Think about it. Why you think in your head, why do you think people try to hide that history? It's almost like the void century, for those that know, right? It's like they try to hide anything in the BC, and all you hear about in the BC is Jesus Christ. That's it, which has its own conspiracies and fact checking in itself. But hey, let's not go there right now. Ancient Sumeria, real place, real technology. See what else they dive into.
Why do they have pictures of giant, enormous people-looking things with like a humanoid with a tail sitting on their lap?
Wild, right? Giant pictures of humans with humanoids and humanoids with tails. Let's take it up. Let's take a look. Let's see. We're just fact checking these things because people will get on here. I'm telling you, you're gonna come across videos where they're telling you that this is nonsense. These guys are lying. The human experience is crazy. We have a wealth of history, a wealth of knowledge that we have not tapped into. What comes up? Let's see. In ancient Sumerian art and mythology, there are various depictions of humanoid figures, gods, and mythological beings that can sometimes be interpreted as giants or supernatural entities. Humanoid figures, depiction of giants, different artifacts. Right. It's there. It's real. We're not making this up. This is not fairy tale.
Like, what is this? Just fiction?
Yeah.
Like, why would they detail this? And how do they have a representation of the solar system with the correct amount of planets and relatively the correct order and size? You know, it's not exact, but it's an artistic version of the real thing.
They have a depiction of the solar system. Ancient Sumeria. Depiction of the solar system. Let's talk about it. Ancient Sumerians have depictions and understanding of the solar system. While the Sumerians did not have a modern understanding of the solar system, they made a significant contribution to early astronomy and had some intriguing representations that are sometimes interpreted as depictions of celestial bodies. The Sumerians were keen observers of the night sky. They recorded the movements of celestial bodies and recognized the importance of the sun, moon, stars, planets in their mythology and calendar. Right? There's a cave somewhere where they have depictions of black holes, the sun. They have paintings of the earth from the atmosphere. But they hide this knowledge from us. And when someone speaks about it, they write it off as hogwash. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
And how the hell 6,000, 5,000 years ago do they know that?
Yeah.
And what explanations do we have? Like, what's the conventional explanations when people tried to dismiss what they knew in ancient Sumer?
Well, the conventional explanation is always going to the term mythology. They
Right.
throw
See?
mythology around, left and right to cover up the fact that they have no clue or idea. So they turn it into mythology so they can kind of say it's all fantasy and fairy tales, and this is how they express themselves or how they understood the universe.
Exactly. Even when we looked it up just now, when I just looked it up, what did it say? Mythology. Right? It's almost like a cop out to say mythology. We are here for the breakdown. You want to break down? Let's go. What is mythology? Mythology is a study and collection of myths and traditional stories and beliefs. Right? Let's cut a short right there. Myths, traditional stories and beliefs. So, what's a myth? So, let's stop it right there. A myth is a traditional story or narrative that serves to explain aspects of the natural world. But when you hear mythology, you almost instantly think it's something that is fake, something that is not real, something that is baseless. Right? That's how you've been trained to hear the word mythology. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. It just means that they're not sure how this happened. Now, there are cases where something is myth, total lie, but in this case, it is not. Isaac Newton was studying this stuff. Most influential scientists. Sumeria, fact, was where Iraq is today.
It's all mythology, it's all fake, but in reality, it's not all fake. These people left behind such detailed records and information. It's a time capsule of information on stone tablets for us today to be able to decipher, break down, and understand, and that's what we're here to do now.
When you look at these ancient languages like cuneiform, can you read that? Do you know how to read it?
Yeah, a small amount of it, yeah. Studying it from books that I have bought right off of Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, so
a lot of the ancient knowledge is written in different languages. We have linguists that have studied the languages, and you can buy books to help you translate. If you want to dive that deep into it, you're able to. You want to translate the tablets? Go ahead. You want to translate ancient Hebrew? Go ahead. The ancient Bible? I'm telling you, you will find information. You will find out, first of all, you will find out that society has been lying to you for years. When society, I mean the schooling system. You have academics that come out today and will tell you that the schooling system has been lying to us forever. I believe in self-study. Self-study, and you pull other sorts of information. Nothing is wrong with formal study. I feel like you have to approach both the same way. Self-study and formal study, you have to have a certain level of discernment and comparisons, and find colleagues to discuss it with, and try to find the truth in it, and also look for the lies in it.
Basically, you take a stick. It looks like a stick with a kind of a curved end, right? Almost sharpened. It's called a stylus. And then
just like a stylus for an iPad.
Exactly, very similar, right? And then you take a piece of wet clay, and right before it's too wet or too dry, right in the middle stage, you then start wedging, making these incredible lines into the clay, and then from that you get this cuneiform text. So this text literally.
We came across this already. It's what the Sumerians invented, the cuneiform text. That supposedly is a myth, right? Supposedly, it's a myth, according to everybody else. Other YouTube videos you're gonna come across. Cuneiform script. The Sumerians developed one of the first writing systems, cuneiform, around 3400 3000 BC. This system used wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets and evolved from pictographs to complex ideograms. It was used for record keeping, literature, and administrative purposes. Cuneiform script. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up.
Some of the letters actually relate to complete ideas. But it's incredible work, and it takes a long time to do. And then you have to let this thing dry, and then it becomes stone. So, if people were supposed to be trying to worry about how they're going to get their next meal, shelter for the night, and all these kind of things, who has time to sit down and write these incredible works of art like the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example?
Yeah.
So I think they really were writing down, and also they were transcribing information that was given to them by these quote-unquote gods with a lowercase g.
You hear what he said? You heard it. You heard it. We have now established that this was a part of one of the most well-known scientists on our planet to this day in modern history work. We established that ancient Sumeria is where modern-day Iraq is. We have established that they have created and contributed to science, math, astronomy, and more. They had their own language, they had their own writing system, they had their own record-keeping system. So this is a highly intelligent, advanced civilization. So if that's the case, everything Billy Carson has saying thus far in this video is true. But people say he's lying.
So when you're reading things like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, for people who don't know, is one of the oldest versions of a lot of the stories that you hear in the Bible.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the very first writings we know today that has eerie similarities to the stories in the Bible. Let's see. Epic of Gilgamesh and Bible comparisons. So, let's do it. The Epic of Gilgamesh and the Bible are two of the most influential texts in the ancient world. While they originate from different cultures, Sumerian and Mesopotamian for the former and Hebrew for the latter. It's important because we can get into how people try to debunk that Hebrew was from that early, that the Hebrew culture was extremely influential. It's in here with the Sumerians, the Mesopotamians, right? That they say had their own at first, but later they became Hebrew. Or people now understood that it was Hebrew. But let's keep going. They share intriguing similarities and differences. Epic of Gilgamesh, ancient Mesopotamia, right? 2100 BC. A poetic narrative about Gilgamesh, the historical king of Uruk, and his quest for immortality. Then you have the Bible, ancient Israel, 1200 BC. A collection of religious texts, including historical narratives, laws, prophecies, poetry, and teachings. So, my name is Anaya. You call me Anaya, which means the answer in Hebrew, right? Anaya Ben Yahweh, whatever which one you want to go with. I go to China. They learned that Anaya, my name is Anaya, which means the answer in English, etc., etc. They then will create a name for them. They might have another name they call me, or it might be a situation where I just end up getting a certain name from them, right? And then their writers write their books and their texts And they call me Shinju. And Shinju was a traveler from a far place, right? I have so much knowledge, they call me a god, Shinju, in their text. Then somewhere in the future, you find that my text is compared to the text of Anaya, and you're wondering if that's the same person. It's almost as if there is a willful ignorance to logical thinking when it comes to the BC knowledge. So let's take a look at the comparative analysis. Epic of Gilgamesh, right, has Gilgamesh's journey to discover the secret of eternal life. The Bible focuses more on the faith and the promise of eternal life through Yahweh. So, similarities of a journey. Gilgamesh learns that immortality is reserved for the gods and accepts human limits. The Bible addresses human sinfulness and the need for redemption and divine grace. Let's get to the creation stories. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, humans are created by the gods for labor and to serve the gods' needs. In the Bible, God creates humanity in his image, and they are caretakers of the earth. It's the same thing, right? It's just different words. Today, you have know how you have the conservative and the Democrats, or liberals, conservatives and liberals. If you look at liberal news, they could report on the exact same thing, and they will use semantics, a different set of words to explain things because of their audience. Is it illogical to think that that's the same thing that's happening here? Right? They both talk about the flood. They both have similar characters. When it comes to the flood, the great flood, the gods decide to destroy humanity due to their noise and unrighteousness. That's Epic of Gilgamesh. In the Bible, God sends the flood to punish humanity for their wickedness and corruption. It's the same thing. Okay, let's keep going.
Or very similar
Yes.
to them. There always seems to be a great flood. There's a few heroes. There's angry gods. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and Zechariah Sitchin's work was like
See?
the most
I
controversial
just talked about the
on
Great Flood.
Sumerian text, right?
Yes.
Because there's a whole website called sitchiniswrong.com. Like people go crazy about him.
Yeah.
But when he starts talking about it, when you read some of the things that they wrote, and when you see like some of the images that they created, the images that look like the double helix from DNA, and
Right.
there's a bunch of the like that now we represent the caduceus, which represents pharmacies.
I think people forget ego was at play here, right? So you have scientists that want to be renowned and recognized as throughout history, and they want to be known as someone that made a big contribution to the scientific world, like, for example, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, right? Which these people also had understudies under them, so you don't even know if everything that they published was their exact thinking. Because it's one thing I hate with the science world. That's why when I went to college, I decided not to become a scientist. That's what I always wanted to be. I wanted to be going to the science field. But I didn't want to publish something new, and because I was under another head scientist, that they would get the credit. Yeah, I mean, okay, you can say I was having ego with a situation too, but it is what it is. That's what happens, and you can look that up. That's something that's well known that happens in the academic world.
And drugs.
So that being said, if something was figured out BC times, years ago, by a certain set of people, right? Different from the people today. DNA, scripts, languages, math. They won't want to give those people credit because then they don't get credit for it today. You see how ego plays into it? That's having an ego over this stuff.
It's like that's the old version of an image of the double helix of DNA, or at least it looks super similar to that.
Oh, it definitely is, because it's referenced even in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and other ancient texts. So there's no coincidences here. Now, Zecharia Sitchin, I don't particularly go by his work, not because it's controversial. I believe he was one of the greatest researchers of all time, and the reason why is because he laid out so much information.
Okay, so Joe Rogan just explained that Zecharia Sitchin has a whole website dedicated to that he's wrong. Let's say who he is. Who is Zecharia Sitchin? Because I had to correct that because you have those people that will say that my video is not credible because I didn't say Stitching. Okay. Who was Zecharia Sitchin? Yes, I'm using ChatGPT. It's giving me sources. If you want to dive deeper to see if it's wrong, that's up to you. Zecharia Sitchin, 1920 to 2010, was an American author, ancient astronaut, theorist, best known for his controversial interpretation of what? The Sumerian text, and his theories about ancient extraterrestrial influences on human history. Okay. What was his occupation? He was a journalist, author, and researcher. Lecturer, theorist. Did he go to school? Let's find out. Did he go to university? Because there's a fight between formal scholars and self-scholars. So he attended university education, University of London. He studied there during the World War II. Okay, see? So he had formal education. He didn't earn a formal degree. See what I mean? I'm telling you, that's a wall that you would face if you're someone that's self-studied. If you didn't earn a formal degree, they will act like you don't know what you're saying.
For us to begin to scratch our head and ask questions. But what I figured out was that by going through the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library, say that fast 10 times, I was able to take stone tablets and decipher them myself. So anyone can go online to the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library and read these stone tablets for themselves. You don't need Zecharia Sitchin. You don't need anyone else 10 times. I was able to take stone tablets and decipher them here. Now, Zecharia Sitchin, I don't particularly go by his work, not because it's controversial. I believe he was one of the greatest researchers of all time. And the reason why is because he laid out so much information for us to begin to scratch our head and ask questions. But what I figured out was that by going through the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library, say that fast 10 times, I was able to take stone tablets and decipher them myself. So anyone can go online to the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library.
Let's take a look. Let's see. Emerald tablets. UCLA SDLI. Okay. Ancient Near East civilization. So it's a credible university that looks like they have a whole section depicted to this. Right? Again, everyone will try to say that this is a lie. See if you can find the Sumerian tablets. Okay. What's this here? So they have a whole thing about cuneiform studies, which was invented by who? The Sumerians, ancient Iraq. Where are the tablets though? Let's see if we can find. I'm probably not gonna waste too much time trying to look for this. Well, anyway, you can go look it up. Let's continue with the video. I'll probably make another video showing where it is. Let's keep going.
And read these stone tablets for themselves. You don't need Zacharias Hitchens. You don't need anyone else. And as I began to break these tablets down,
do they have them transcribed, or are you reading the actual tablet?
They transcribe them. They actually transcribe them into English for you.
Is there controversy as far as, like, are there different versions of the transcription? Like, do some people?
Man, we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of this video yet. Right? Look at this. What we got? Sumerian texts and transliterations. You can find this. It's all on the internet. It's on the internet.
Thinking it's interpreted differently. Is like some debate about that.
Only where it comes to where some of the text is missing. There could be pieces chipped off of tablets. Right. You see that corner missing from that tablet right there in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Just look how wild is that?
Yeah.
Just how wild is that exists?
Yeah.
And that this was. It's so hard for people to put in their brain 5,000 years of time, and that there's these people that have this very bizarre language. Like when you look at that language, we don't even know what it sounds like, right?
Right. No, and the language popped up out of nowhere. You know, you're talking about a civilization that appeared out of nothing.
It looks like computer code.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Just imagine like a human being deciding that they were going to write down in these very bizarre, and they all agreed that all these things mean a certain thing. So they had to somehow or another have a Rosetta Stone or something where they're documenting it so that people can learn it and teach it. And then we're looking at it 5,000 years later.
Yeah. It's
so amazing.
It is. And what's incredible is this text was translated in the 1800s, long before Zacharias Sitchin was born. So there are some, some rumors that, he was the only one that could decipher these tablets. Well, no. George Smith,
again,
who worked as an Assyriologist and
wrote
many books and deciphered these Sumerian tablets in the 1800s.
They're trying to discredit him, but he's right.
Texts that have been deciphered for a few hundred years, nothing that was just.
He's right, right? So let's just go forward a little bit on this video.
Discovered in caves, people took those and then said, okay, we got these scrolls and the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Atrahasis.
How to build things, taught us all these different things.
Eyesight is said
to mine gold,
right? And
then to mine
information, esoteric wisdom, alchemy. All these things came from these people.
Yep. So
we talked about this already.
The craziest version of this story is that they genetically engineered us out of lower primates and put us here to mine gold.
Right.
And then established different types of civilizations and taught us how to build things, taught us all these different things. And enough time has passed that we've kind of forgotten.
So it's interesting that people have a problem with the fact that human beings, with what it says in the tablets, right? That human beings were genetically engineered and sent here to to be caretakers of the earth, right? That's basically what is being said. Remember, we went over text about how liberals and conservatives may speak on the same thing. Some might say they're slaves, some might say they're workers, some might say they're caretakers. Okay. What does if you were to, in a short paragraph, check this out. What would genetically designing a human look like? In a short paragraph, what would genetically designing a human look like? Check it out. Genetically designing a human involves manipulating DNA to create specific traits or enhance characteristics. This process, often referred to as genetic engineering or gene editing, would look like a high-tech laboratory where scientists use tools, etc., right? We ain't got to go into CRISPR. That's a whole other, which is a real thing. But we're gonna stick with the Bible. Let's compare Adam's creation to genetic human design. Check it out. So the Emerald tablets, Sumerian tablets, ancient whatever, ancient tablets, they talk about humans, the Anunnakis, designed humans genetically, right, to mine gold. The creation of Adam in religious texts and genetic human design in modern science represents two distinct concepts of human origin. In religious traditions like the Bible, Adam's creation is a divine act where Yahweh forms his form from dust and breathes life into him, symbolizing a spiritual, miraculous origin. In contrast, genetic human design is a scientific process where human traits are engineered through techniques, right? So we all know about the rib, right? Rib, and when you dive deeper, like you can stay at the surface of something, like, oh, breath life into this thing, boom, boom, it was going. But when you dive deeper, what did it take to breathe life into a being? Sounds like genetic engineering to me. Hey, I'm just saying.
Enough time has passed. That's the wackiest version of it, right?
Right. That's the bare bones minimum.
Yeah, the wackiest versions they made us, which is we've talked about this a couple of times, but how bizarre it is that human beings have this incredible fascination for gold. We're fascinated with gold. Yeah. This fascination with gold is really weird. Like, why back when it was basically useless? You couldn't make a knife out of it. Right. You couldn't, like it didn't make sense that this would be so valuable. Just because it's rare, you're barely alive.
Right.
We're going, right? We're going back to full-on hunter and gatherer.
So why would the ancients be so concerned with gold? Let's find out. Let's look it up. Ancient societies' obsession with gold can be attributed to a combination of its intrinsic properties, symbolic significance, and practical uses. Let's stick on the practical side. Because these people had to survive, right? Food, everything else, you have to survive. So what are the practical uses of gold? Jewelry and decorative arts, electronics, and technology. Gold is an excellent conductor of electricity and is used in electronic components like connectors, switches, and circuit boards. I want you to let that sink in a little bit. Why would an ancient society be concerned, so concerned with gold. One of the biggest things gold is attributed to is being a conductor of electricity and is used for electronic components. I get it. I know. They're going to tell you that, oh, wait a minute. Well, why aren't we finding anything from back then? Well, there's something called half-life. Look it up. All the cities now, if everything was to shut down today, if everything was to shut down today, by the time 7,000 years in the future, it would just look like grass, mountains, and mounds. Today, you can find even earlier than that, you can find ancient Catholic churches that just look like mounds of dirt. Okay, these were amazing structures. So we're going back thousands of years back. It's not going to look. It's reaches half-life. Has its half-life. It's eroded.
Our ancestors with spears and stone chipped, and then after that, gold emerges, and it stays.
Yeah.
It stays forever.
Yeah.
Now, when you read Zecharia Sitchin's book, he talks about this in the 1970s. His description of it was that they needed to suspend gold particles in the atmosphere because their atmosphere was being destroyed.
Right.
Then you move to somewhere around the 2000s when climate scientists start proposing this idea of suspending reflective particles in the atmosphere.
Right.
And then when you realize the unique properties of gold, how unusual it is in terms of a building material, you can coat things. The reason why things are coated in gold, silver plated, gold plated rather, you can take a tiny piece of gold and cover an enormous area with it. It's a strange metal.
Yeah.
Really weird. And what, the supposed story is, it's very common on Earth, very rare on Nibiru.
Right. Yeah, that's the story. And now when I started looking.
Okay. Let's fact check that. Can you cover an enormous area with gold? So, there's been a ton of people on the Joe Rogan podcast to visit these type of topics. A ton of them that visited these topics on gold and ancient societies. There was no issue. There wasn't much problem when these guys talked about it. But when Billy Carson, I wonder what the difference is. I wonder when Billy Carson gets on here and starts talking about it. There's a problem. Gold leaf is a very thin layer of gold that can be applied to large surfaces. No one's making none of this stuff up.
Looking into
modern day society is just finding out things. Finding out today that was here thousands of years ago. Modern day Iraq, modern day Africa.
do this goal thing myself, and here's what I came up with. So when you start analyzing the text, you discover that there was an encampment in a place called South Africa at Adam's Calendar. Okay. Now at Adam's Calendar, there's actually the very first gold mines discovered. They're dating them back to about 200,000 years ago. And that's incredible because there's a building there that looks like a worn down structure. Now in the tablet.
Okay. Let's stop there. I'll stop there. Let's stop there. It's good. It's going to be a part 2 of this for sure. Okay. It might be 5 parts because I really want to break down this video. I really want to break down and talk about things. I'm going to tie it in to the Bible for you, right? Because don't forget, ancient Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and latter, right, somehow converted into, was moved into Hebrew. Okay? I'll end my video here. Look out for part 2. Part 2 is coming. This is after seeing Terrence Howard and seeing Billy Carson starting to get drugged through the mud, I was compelled to become a content creator now. Okay, so you're gonna see a lot of me. We're gonna break it down together and see how much truth is in what these guys are talking about. Okay. See you next time.